Once your goal is sharply but realistically defined, all that remains is carrying out your plan. In other words, you'll never know how good you might have become unless you try. So let's get with it.
So I want to go a different route from what I usually see on social media in general. I never see the gym content related to books and studying, actually. I've gathered a few interesting books related to the sport and gym in general, and I'll be sharing the lessons from the books with y'all. There's a lot of bullshit out there today. A lot of this science-based and fucking Greenlandic curls, and I know there's so much noise out there. And I believe that if you really want to learn something, you got to learn it from someone that already did what you want to do. And today, we'll start with the first book, High Intensity Training, the Mike Mentzer Way. So we're going to learn a little bit about heavy duty. So let's talk about Mike's story for a little, just for context. Mike fell in love with bodybuilding at age 11 from all those magazines with the muscular guys. And as you guys might know, in the 70s, bodybuilding was crazy in popularity. That's the so-called golden era of bodybuilding. Venice Beach, sun, spending countless hours at the gym, twice a day sometimes, 6 times a week, get a tan, chase the pump. And what makes Mike different from everyone else is that while everyone was chasing the pump, he was chasing knowledge and the perfect physique. And the more he studied, the more he realized that everything in the magazines and everything that Arnold was saying was all wrong. He publicly challenged everything mainstream bodybuilding was saying, and that made him a target. And while the industry just tried to ignore him, he couldn't be ignored because he was making so much progress in such little time with his methods. Mike backed up his words with actions, and in 1978, he was the first bodybuilder ever to get a perfect score as the Mr. Universe. In 1980, he was the favorite to win the Mr. Olympia title, but the industry had other plans. The retired Arnold Schwarzenegger made a comeback, and he was going to compete for the title too. It's time for the show, and Mike looked flawless. Arnold was far from his best shape, but interestingly, guess who won? Mike got 5th place, and Arnold was crowned the champion once more. And that was a clear sign that if you challenge the industry, you will get hammered. That was the beginning of Mike's downfall. He realized that politics played a bigger role than the actual dedication and the science that he put behind all his work.
I thought I should have won. A lot of people thought so. That was my lowest point. I knew my career was over right there. I'd always wanted to win the Mr. Olympia, and I was going to give it 3 or 4 tries. That was my second try, but because it did appear like it was fixed, I wasn't going to go back again and get screwed.
Mike quit bodybuilding as an athlete, but he would still have clients at Gold's Gym. He still had major influence in athletes like Dorian Yates, who went on to become 6-time Mr. Olympia champ. But sadly, in 2001, Mike passed away due to a heart attack. And for you to see how life is a little crazy, right? This is how the book starts. Within 36 hours of signing the agreement for this book, Mike Mentzer died in his sleep of a heart attack. So he doesn't know about this book. He died a little bit before. But his friend, his name is John Little, is responsible for the publication of the book and everything that's written in here. All the content comes from their close relationship. Mike would teach everything that he knows about bodybuilding to John, and they would have casual conversations about it all the time. The book is divided in 6 parts and 22 chapters. Part 1 is going to talk about preliminary considerations for bodybuilding. Part 2 is going to talk about the fundamentals of bodybuilding, and Part 3, the derivatives of these fundamentals. Part 4 is going to be about putting theory into practice. Part 5 is going to talk about concerns for the competitive bodybuilder, and the last part is going to talk about the motivation and psychology of bodybuilding. This is why I like Mike so much. He not only addresses the physical part of it, but everything that revolves around it, especially the psychology of it. Alright, so enough of all that. Let's start with this book. Chapter 1 is going to be the role of realistic goals. This is going to break some people's hearts, I believe. I don't know about you guys, but the moment I go into TikTok or YouTube Shorts or Reels, everything I see is about hacks, gym hacks, or how to gain muscle fast, how to lose fat in 3 days. Like, I'm exaggerating, but people have this expectation that they can do big transformations in a small amount of time. And if you have those expectations for bodybuilding, I strongly suggest you either change that mentality or quit, because it doesn't happen overnight, and it won't. First sentence of this chapter. Those readers who have been engaged in serious bodybuilding for more than a year probably have realized that the growth of muscle tissue beyond normal level is a relatively slow process. This is coming from the guy that won the Mr. Universe with a perfect score, was the favorite for the Mr. Olympia 1980 title. He was just a beast, you know, for his time. my opinion, the best. But I mean, titles will speak. I won't get into that subject. But here's what he's saying. I think that most experienced bodybuilders would agree that a 5-pound gain of pure muscle tissue, as opposed to 5 pounds of body weight, despite of its composition, would be considered a considerable achievement. 5 pounds of muscle. And people are here saying, oh, I want to road to 300 pounds, and the guy's like 220, and you're like, what? So what people have to understand is that even though the process is slow, you're not going to gain so much muscle in such little time, unless you're a genetic freak. And you can get a lot of improvement, especially early. The journey, the long-term journey, the long-term goal is what really matters. So if you were to gain 5 pounds of muscle a year, in 5 years, that's 25 pounds of muscle, which is a lot of muscle. I don't think people understand that. So it's really all about the long-term process. And I know you've probably heard that somewhere else. And for other things too. Oh, short-term goals are not the way, blah, blah, blah. And turns out for bodybuilding, it isn't different. Another aspect of bodybuilding that we have to be realistic about is genetics. Here's what Mike's saying. It'll be these few blessed individuals possessing all the required genetic factors who might possibly reach the top and take the big titles. And that's coming from a time where bodybuilding was more limited. Today you go and watch the Mr. Olympia and there's like 200 guys in classic, and back then it really wasn't like that. And still, even though there's more people that are pros now and more people on like prestige stages, you really see that there's levels to the pros, you know? So there's a pro that's good, there's an elite level pro. And then the difference is the same, right? But before there was less pros and now there's more. So for anyone that's starting or anyone that's wondering, oh, can I be Mr. Olympia? Odds are, no, you can't. Because the question in itself shows that you haven't really noticed something like unbelievable in you that, I don't know, you gain so much muscle so fast. Like, you gotta realize you can get to your best ability. You can reach your full potential. And that comes with hard work, that comes with patience, that comes with time. So there is definitely room for improvement for everyone. But for you to be the next, I don't know, Dorian, for you to be the next Chris Bumstead, that is a lot of hard work for sure, but it's also the genetics, and you really can't change that. And this is just for you to get the perspective, right? I'll put a few pictures of Dorian when he started working out, the time frame, and his transformations. And this doesn't mean that, oh, if I didn't gain 200 pounds of muscle in a year, I can't be a bodybuilder. No, it's not about that. But my belief is that if you were special in terms of genetics, you would know. So this is Dorian after 9 months of training. And this is his 10-year transformation. So it's pretty clear. After 9 months of training, Dorian has more or less than probably 99% of the people watching this video, including myself. Like, I'm not excluded from that. So early signs will be there, you know, and I believe there's a lot of people who try to convince themselves that they can overcome their genetic potential, which isn't true. You won't be able to. But you only know where you can get if you go and do it, you know, which is the fucking introduction of this video, right? And in saying that, oh, dude, you're talking about that, but why do you bodybuild if you're not a genetic freak, whatever? I love it. That's why. That's the only reason why I do it. I love it. It has brought me a lot of improvement, not only physique-wise, psychologically. It's very challenging. It requires a lot of discipline, and in my approach, it requires a lot of self-awareness. You know, it's a lot of introspection and learning, you know, and it really is a sport where your dedication will reflect on your physique, and it will reflect on your improvements. That being said, I am not a genetic freak for bodybuilding. I'm 6'6", by the way, so I'm pretty tall. So that in itself should say, hey, dude, probably basketball. But I wasn't born in America, so Brazil doesn't really have that strong connection with basketball. I should have probably gone that route, or maybe the NFL, but, you know, here I am doing bodybuilding. In any event, this is the point, right? There is a potential for where you want to go, and the potential is fictional until you get there. But there are for sure signs that you have the potential to get to a higher level versus you can work on yourself and get to your best version, but it probably won't be as competitive as you imagine. So this is chapter 1. We just got to realize that the process is about the long-term goals. You won't get muscle overnight. Rare cases like Dorian, you will train for 9 months and you'll look like that. But even then, it took Dorian 10 years to go from his first look until his first Mr. Olympia physique. So 10 years in itself is a lot of time, even for the high-level athletes, for anyone in doing anything. So it's day in and day out, repeating the meals, repeating the workouts, resting, drinking the water, getting the supplements, stretching. So don't get too attached to the goal, I would say. You can get attached to the process. And what I do that motivates me a lot, even though I don't require a lot of motivation, I just do it because it's non-negotiable for me. It's part of my life. But what I do is I keep a logbook. And that's something that we're going to approach in this book too, because that's something that Mike advocated for. I can see progress every time I go to the gym. Not only physically, because that's a little bit harder. You see yourself in the mirror every day. It's hard to assess those things, but in performance. So keeping a logbook is something that really pushed me to keep going, and it still does. It's one of the factors. Second of all, like I said, I love this. It's part of my life, so it's really not about me making content. If I stopped making content, I would still go to the gym. Or it's not about me going to a show and winning. I am competing this year in July. Now it's February, so got a little bit of time till then. But it's really not about any of that. It's about my love for the sport, and it's about self-improvement. That's for me. So we crossed that part. Realistic goals. It's about the long-term process. And then there's your genetic potential. So your genes will play a big role in everything that you do in anything. So with bodybuilding in itself, it's about building muscle. And if your genes are good for that, you will reach higher standards than regular people. And you got to understand that early on so you can level your expectations a little bit. Yeah, so for chapter 2, we're going to talk about individual potential, but that's going to be a topic for the next video. Hope you guys liked it, and I'll be improving this video because it's the first time I'm doing this video long-term form. So I'll see you then. Peace.